I think we're live with Cam and some children in the background, obviously. Fortunately, Hunter Biden is nowhere in the area, at least I hope anyway. You never want to have Hunter Biden in the area when there are children around. And I'll just keep bantering a little bit until I see the red go live on Rockfin just to make sure. There it is right there. So now we are definitely live on Rockfin. And I did all this before the show, Cam. I had you test for me, listen to the audio with my voice so I could play the music, the intro music, and then I just forgot to play the intro music. So all that testing we did is just thrown out. Doesn't matter, but it's good to know that it works for the next time so we can add a little bit.
I'm just glad you can't hear me shout at my children right now.
I would love to hear what you're saying because it looks ferocious, to be honest with you, Cam.
All I'm saying is if you wanted to just do the intro right now, and then just cut this part out of the thing you release, you could do that.
I could. This is the best part of the show, perhaps, though, right now, what we're doing, right? That's a good idea. Why don't we do that? And then here we go. Hunter Biden combines 3 things no one's ever combined before, and propaganda of the deed in Japan. You're watching the Propaganda Report podcast. I'm Brad Binkley. Joining me today to help out is co-host of the Mad Ones, the one and only Cam Harless. Cam, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. So you noticed I'm bald, but the reason I'm bald is because a couple of months ago I was kind of losing some hair, and I went to the doctor because I was like, I don't want to go bald. And so she did a whole run of tests and found out that I was vitamin D deficient. I had 50% less than I needed, and that it was, in fact, stress that was making it come out. And so I've been sitting in the sun every morning for 30 minutes a day, and there's not a patch left in my hair.
Really? So you're saying the cure, perhaps, for some people's hair loss problems is just a little bit of sunshine?
Yeah, go outside, fight a bear. You know, get that testosterone.
Right. You'll definitely grow hair if you fight. Every bear that you fight successfully, you grow back some more hair. Every one that you fight unsuccessfully, well, you die. So you just want to make sure. All right. So it's been a while. I'm glad to be back with you live and having some fun. We got some stories to talk about. I don't know if you noticed my hat. I have on one of the traditional paperboy-like hats from back in the World War II era, back when people talked like this. Hey, what do you do? Come over here and tell me what you need. You need a newspaper? That
straight
going on.
Newsy.
Yeah, newsy, very George Bailey-ish. Clarence is always imagine. I like this old-timey fedoras, old-timey hats. But that's really not the top story in the news today.
I should
the top
wear my
story.
Hat, though.
Put it on if you got it. There you go. I like that cowboy hat. Makes you look rough and tough, like a biker, like a bouncer at Swingin' Richards, just outside of Atlanta. Top male strip club in the country.
See that makes sense now because you said it before, and I didn't know what Swingin' Richards was.
I know. I figured you didn't know what it was when I said it before. So I was like, do I tell them what it is when I say it before, or do I just leave it out there and allow people to research Swinging Richards and see what shows up on the Google?
I got the joke. I got the wordplay, but I didn't know what it actually was. I didn't realize like Chippendales kind of deal was going on.
Now, it's a strip club. I presume it's still there. It's right up the street from where Relapse Theater was off of 14th Street. It's, I believe, on North Side. So there's a lot of talk about Swinging Richards. I had never been there personally, but I knew a lot of women who went there, and it was apparently it was a party over there. It was a party for sure. All right. Well, that's definitely not going to be as in the same tone as the first story of the day, which is about how the former prime minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, was assassinated yesterday while giving a campaign speech. He was 67 years old, and he was Japan's longest-serving leader when he resigned back in 2020. He collapsed bleeding after being shot and was airlifted to a nearby hospital and then later pronounced dead. Police at the shooting scene arrested a guy named Tetsuya Yamagami. He was 41, a former member of Japan's Navy, and he was arrested on suspicion of murder. And police say that he used a gun that was obviously homemade. It was about 15 inches long, And they say that he did admit to attacking Abe, telling investigators that he plotted to kill him because he believed rumors about the former leader's connection to a certain organization that the police did not identify. Now, that's an aspect of the story that I'm interested in. I would like to know what that organization is. And video of the shooting showed Abe standing and giving a speech outside a train station ahead of Sunday's parliamentary election, and he raised his fist to make a point, and then 2 gunshots rang out. He collapsed, holding his chest, his shirt smeared with blood, and security guards ran towards him. The guards then leapt onto the gunman, had him face down, and they took away his double-barrel weapon. So it was a very dramatic scene, a demonstration, a display perhaps, and many world leaders have expressed condolences, while China has kind of remained mum, except on social media, where the people over there are celebrating the shooting, calling the guy a hero. Now, I don't know much about this guy. What I've learned about him today is, at least this is what's being reported anyway, is that he is kind of a anti-globalist figure. He's painted as divisive by the media, as an ultra-nationalist by the media. And this incident here happened with him having lots of security because he was a well-liked and still a very highly influential political leader in Japan. And as I said, he was portrayed as divisive and far-right and a nationalist, and he got along very well with Trump. And like Trump, he was a popular former head of state who was campaigning again to run for another election. And I think that this is a propaganda of the deed scenario that we're seeing right here. Propaganda of the deed, if you're not familiar with it, you probably are. It's defined in a couple of ways. One definition is that it's a violent form of direct action involving bombings and targeted assassinations. Another definition is that it is a concept that promotes physical violence against political enemies as a way of inspiring the masses to mobilize the revolution. And it's also seen by others as a way of accelerating the revolution, as making it happen faster. And it can also serve as a warning to others. And I believe that a couple of those could be in play here. Edward Bernays talked about propaganda of the deed versus and in conjunction with propaganda of the word. Propaganda of the deed being much more powerful because it is a public demonstration which impacts those who witness it and experience it far, far more than just words do. You use the words to help kind of crystallize it, but the actual deed, it's like a false flag. It's like staging something. You stage
Operation Northwoods.
Exactly. Yeah, and it makes it real because it is real in a sense. And this to me, because this figure is, at least the way he's being portrayed, very similar to Trump, almost like a warning shot fired by the globalist to those who are opposing their agenda and willing to act on it politically in a public forum, perhaps also trying to inspire activists to conduct other such acts around the world when they have ultra-nationalist right-wing leaders running for office. What do you think about this story? It's just, you hear this, and oftentimes you don't really know what the significance of it is, and the media jumps in to try and tell you what that significance is before you can really hash through it and figure it out. I'm not certain. This was my first instinct, but what do you think?
Well, I think it's interesting because do you remember that there was an assassination in Japan in 1960 of a political leader as well? But it's way more metal. His name was Inajiro Asanuma, and he was a leader in the Socialist Party. And a dude straight up went up on stage, took a katana, and stabbed him in the stomach.
Wow!
I mean, it's like heavy metal, holy cow, holy crap stuff.
It's like what you would expect over there in Japan, because they have strict gun control laws, and also the way it's portrayed in films. And yeah, that's wow. Go on. That's interesting.
So they have very interesting ones. The other thing I wanted to point out, I saw a picture, and if you'll put it on the screen, I'll put it up here.
Okay.
But there is they searched this dude's house after he did this gun. And yeah, he did have homemade guns. But one of the things that made me laugh, because I thought there's no way they wrote this right. There's no way that these reporters got this right. They said that he had a 9 and a 5 barrel shotgun. And so I've put it there if you want to pull it up, but I have a picture there of his 9-barrel shotgun.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So, for those who are listening as opposed to watching, it looks like a futuristic weapon. So when you're on a set of a movie, especially if you're in a futuristic movie, District 9, I was in a television pilot that was very futuristic, and I played an assassin in it. And the design department just has a blast with. Look at your screen now. Just has a blast with making futuristic weapons. And this to me looks like a weapon that would be put together on a movie set, that almost like Demolition Man like weapon. It's crazy. It's got 6, I guess, holes where the bullets come out of.
That's 9.
Oh, 9. Yeah, thank you for that math.
This is the 9. And it like I said, it made me think of District 9. Is that what it's called? District 13?
Yeah. District 9, I think. You talking about the Alien movie?
Yeah, the Alien one with the roaches.
Is that a cell phone that's attached to the gun at the end, or is that officer just holding that cell phone?
It looks like it's attached, but this looks like, I don't know if you know this term, but in like sci-fi movies and especially in Star Wars, but when they make these props, they do what's called kit bashing. Have you ever heard of kit bashing?
I haven't heard that term.
So kit bashing is when they're making a gun or some futuristic technology, and then they use different model kits and pull random pieces out and use those on it to make it look more futuristic. And so this looks like the most badass kit bashing that's ever occurred.
No, totally. That looks, so if I would have been said, hey, why don't you try and draw the gun that is described in these stories? That's not what would have come out from the picture that I drew.
Yeah, apparently he also made a double barrel, but this dude was like, he was in the far-flung future. Like this is wild. I want to see those all go off at once.
I want to see a demonstration of this weapon here being used. But that does it. So these people who make weapons on sets, they're so good at it. They look so real, and some of them even bring real modified weapons to sets. I've been on a set before where I had a gun that looked right. Alec Baldwin specifically brings real weapons, real bullets onto sets. But yeah, people can walk into set who aren't supposed to be in set and see you holding a gun. There's stories about people having a gun on set, ending up getting chased and shot at by a police officer who didn't realize it was a movie set. But that's very interesting. And another angle on this is the gun angle. Obviously, they have strict gun control laws, and because this was obviously a self-made gun, then how are you going to get around that? And something that I always wondered about is the 3D printing. This one doesn't look like it was 3D printing. It actually looks kind of like a bunch of those.
There's a 2x4 that's holding that all together at the top.
It looks like a 2x4 at the top, yeah, and it looks like a cell. So where you would hold your hand, the grip of the gun is like a cell phone. It looks like that's what, unless the officer's holding that there, but it looks like part of the gun. And then there's just wiring all around this gun, and the holes where the bullets come out look kind of like Roman candles. It looked like somebody taped like 9 long Roman candles together underneath a yellow 2x4 with a cell phone as a grip. And I mean, I don't know. If I saw somebody pointing that at me, I'd probably laugh and be like, that can't do anything. Maybe it can. Obviously it can, I guess.
What's funny about this is, if there's anything America is good at, it's making guns, especially 3D printed guns. Sure, the Japanese can make a PlayStation 5, but they can't make our 3D printed weapons, it doesn't seem.
Yeah, obviously. That is definitely a rigged up duct tape. That's like a redneck gun right there. You might see.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So I'm interested to see what this leads to. If there are other, I hope not. I do not want this to happen. I don't want any people to rise up. I don't want anybody to be inspired by stuff like this. But attacks like this are typically not just for the sake of taking out the politician that was targeted. They're for something broader, to inspire others and to cause chaos and revolution. And, we're in dicey territory in the world for sure right now. So,
yeah, well, and what was interesting is like the different news agencies. I think CNN was one of them. I can never remember. They're all such crap. But they had to recant their first tweet, whoever it was, because their first tweet called him like a divisive nationalist or a divisive conservative something, and then they changed it to ultra nationalist, which like all of the people in Japan, and you can see some of these tweets are like, he didn't call himself an ultra nationalist. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. He was well loved, and they're trying to paint that. And you look at Fidel Castro's death tweets, it's like, beloved leader Fidel Castro has passed away today. And so it's all very propaganda.
Yeah, you can see the propaganda just in the way they describe this guy. I noticed the same thing about the ultra nationalist, and I think that was NPR that ended up taking
it was NPR
taking a tweet back about their original framing of it. I mean, the guy just died, and they are injecting political language to try and demonize him in subtly in their articles about it, because people don't know. You know, maybe he is. Maybe you think maybe he is an ultra nationalist. Maybe that's how he portrays himself. But you're right, he doesn't. He was very well liked. They called him divisive, but he apparently had pretty wide popularity over there. That's why he reminds me of a Trump-like figure, at least the way they're portraying this. And with Trump out on tour and doing everything, I just, I don't know if Trump's in on it or if Trump's not in on it. At least outwardly, Trump would appear to be someone who opposes their agenda. I don't know if that's the case or not. Maybe he's just a figure playing that role. But people need to be careful, and people need to take a breath before they act. They let these politicians, these actions influence our behavior. These are all mass behavioral control techniques. And as long as we fall for them, we will always be under the thumb of these elites and fighting with each other. Divide and rule.
And it also makes me think of the time that I think he was a terrorist. I can't remember his name, but someone called him, I think it was Washington Post, called him an austere religious scholar instead of what he was. But I did want to share this tweet.
They called this guy this?
No, not this guy. But it's like they're always nice to the people who they shouldn't.
Oh, right. Nice I remember that. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I do remember that. It was like a bad dude, and they were. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's my favorite tweet from this, and I can't retweet it because I don't want my guns taken away. Someone who I won't name tweeted 400 million guns in the United States, 400 million guns, 0 dead politicians. Japan, 1 gun, 1 dead prime minister. We should be absolutely embarrassed.
Yeah, that's good. It's fun. And that was Joe Biden's message. Joe Biden's message, he included a gun control message in his statement about it. I can't remember what it was, but it's something like, guns have a horrible impact on, so everything has to have those messages. Can they just be real people? Can they ever take an opportunity to be a real person and not inject something just blatantly political in everything? I mean, these are condolences. Can you imagine if you're like at a funeral for somebody, like maybe this person is a relative of yours, this former prime minister, and somebody comes up to you and says, I am really sorry for your loss. Guns can really just have a horrible effect on people. I mean, you would slug that person in the face for doing that, but that's the standard operation for our politicians in this country. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
All right, now on to something that, I've been looking forward to talking about this story because this is the gift that keeps on giving. Hunter Biden is, which is what our next story.
Family.
Really, it's just crazy when you really step back and think about all of this stuff in regards to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and the public displays of idiocy that we see from these people and just flagrant sex and drugs and committing crimes, and the media's like, oh, we don't care. Trump's kids are bad. They're so bad. Meanwhile, you have Hunter Biden, twerking his wiener on video that he's filming himself, and nobody even talks about it. I mean, it's unbelievable how just biased and controlled the media is. I mean, we're really living in the twilight zone. I think people in North Korea are probably like, man, those Americans, they really don't know what's going on.
All right, so there's a video?
Oh, yeah, there's a video, which I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't watched all of it yet, which I'm not going to show you yet. Let me give you some background on the story. The wait is over. A new Hunter Biden sex tape has dropped, and boy, does he really continue to surprise with his innovative nature in these videos, because he does something in this latest video that I doubt has ever been done before in the history of the world, in that he combines three things that it's unlikely anyone has ever combined before. No one on the planet has probably ever combined these three things before. And those three things are sensory deprivation tank, smoking crack, and masturbation.
I feel like Joe Rogan's done this, though.
Joe Rogan, here's the thing. People who are in sensory deprivation tanks who can afford that are probably not smoking crack. They're probably doing something, maybe some PCP. So
DMT.
That's the right. So I think that's the angle where I think he's done something. He's achieved something that's a first in all of mankind. And here's the story. Okay, this is the opening paragraph of the story. Hunter Biden is seen filming himself smoking drugs and fondling himself inside a sensory deprivation tank during a detox program funded by his dad. A sensory deprivation tank, for those of you, you're probably familiar with it, but it's like what Eleven in Stranger Things floats in, to get her mental powers back. People use it for alternative health purposes or, to access other people's minds or alternative universes, stuff like that. And it's something that very wealthy people often go use as a way to detox, And first of all, where did he do this rehab? What?
Epstein Island?
The Bunny Ranch? Epstein Island? Yeah. What kind of rehab lets you go in a tank with some crack and play with yourself while you're floating in the water? It's unbelievable. Have you ever in your life, Cam, let me ask you this question. Have you ever in your life ever been like, hey, man, you want to hang out later? And that person said, no, I can't. I got to go jump in the sensory deprivation tank so I can smoke some crack and whack off. I'll show you the video later. Have you ever had an experience like that?
I have not, luckily, fortunately. But I also, so there's video.
Yes, there is.
Was the deprivation tank closed? Because my understanding is those are dark. Was he just sitting on the outside of it? Like,
no, that was another question that I had. They're bringing videos into this deprivation tank. See, Hunter Biden films himself doing all these things. He films his own criminal activity. So if you knew Hunter Biden was coming to your wellness center or staying in your hotel, you might have an inkling to say, maybe I put a hidden camera there so I can get some compromising material on him and blackmail him. Hunter Biden says, you're not going to get me with your hidden camera. I'll compromise myself at a better camera angle. He films it himself. He takes care of his own.
I know my angles. You don't.
Right. You're going to make me look bad. I will film it. I'll give it to you. And that's what he does. He looks like a self-absorbed TikToker in these videos, except that he's always naked, always doing drugs, and always committing some sort of sex act. It's like the guy has never taken his clothes off without saying, hey, hold on. Make sure the camera's on. Every single time. I mean, these are the videos we're seeing of him. Can you imagine how many explicit videos of Hunter Biden exist with the amount that we're seeing?
Can you imagine what he decided not to tape?
God, there's no telling.
Think about that.
He probably like his good acts, like him saving babies and puppies and stuff. He's like, no, I don't want any attention for this. I don't want any credit for it. But then afterwards, he hands the puppy over to the kid, starts stripping his clothes down, and says, hey, kid, hold this phone for me. And that's when we get the real action.
Give me that puppy back.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not even going to go where I was about to go with that because I do want to get through this story here before we go too blue with it. But yeah, he's always filming himself. It's so weird. In the story, okay, so in this latest video, this is how it's described. It says that he is bathed in a trippy green light as he floats naked on his back and plays with himself, all of which is being filmed on his cell phone. He briefly leaves the frame and grabs a can of White Claw, hard seltzer, and it's a tall boy, and what appears to be a crack pipe before taking several hits and then staring wild-eyed into the camera as ambient music plays softly in the background. How weird is this? I mean, this is the weirdest stuff ever.
Tantric alone time. But it does make sense now. I understand why he taped it, because when you're drinking claws, there ain't no laws.
Obviously not. I mean, he's just like, I'm going to kick back, get hammered, smoke some crack, and give myself a 5-finger knuckle sandwich just to have it a regular Tuesday for Hunter Biden. And I'm going to play the clip I haven't seen this. So for those of you watching, I'm going to warn you. And for those of you listening, I will try and describe in the most non-explicit way possible what's happening.
You better use
there. Oh my gosh. So the opening frame of Hunter Biden here. It looks like there's a green screen or something somehow beneath this tank, but he appears to be floating in water. And you see him laying on his back, and like it's a Japanese porn, not that I've ever seen one of those, his private area is fuzzied out. This is disgusting.
It's wild that they're born that way.
Right, I know, it's weird. And it played. That's the music you hear. So I wonder about this music. Did he have that music in there for relaxation purposes, or was he like, you know what, I'm going to edit this and throw some music underneath it?
If you don't think that it would be BT, that's not BTK. I'm awful because I'm trying to remember the name. BTS. I was making a joke that it was K-pop, but instead I almost said BTK, which is a serial killer. So either way.
Hunter Biden could very well be a serial killer for all we know. You know, Hunter Biden's killed a few people probably.
Oh, for sure.
That have been covered. And there's video of it too, because there's no doubt he slept with their corpses. He is sick and twisted. I can't prove that. That's just hearsay. It's like everything you hear at the January 6th hearing, there's as much evidence of that as there is what I just said. We will continue with the video. He's just laying flat.
This new Star Wars looks awful.
Yeah, this is not the best. Okay, now there's so the video cut and the angle switched to get a better shot of his crotch. So he looked at the camera and then he said, you know what, that's not getting the right kind of coverage that I want, so I'm going to get a better angle. And that better angle was, what is wrong with Hunter Biden is the question we should all be asking here. Continues, still floating on his back. It's actually a 7-minute video. I have about 2 minutes of it here.
I feel like they've been a little generous with the blur.
Yeah, they are. They're giving him a little too much blur. You don't need that many pixels to cover up that. It doesn't go all the way up to his chest. Cut those pixels in half. All right, so he just leaned up in the video, and is he wearing a hat while he's in there?
He looks like Jason Mraz.
He does. He really does look like Jason Mraz.
He's going to throw out a milady and just at any moment.
He's obviously aware of the camera because he just looked straight up and into the camera when he looked up, and he appears to be wearing some sort of a cowboy hat or something.
Oh, I don't like that.
And it cut. All right, so the camera, it just cut, and it's not quite as green in the background, but now he's sitting in the corner of the sensory deprivation tank at the wellness center, and he has what looks like a crack pipe, and he is lighting it up right now. Still with the music playing. I hope they clean this tank after he uses it.
And they have to, right?
Packing his crack. Why crack when he can afford other things?
That's my question.
Smoke. Oh, there it is.
What kind of drugs this dude could afford?
Why? Yeah. Why is he filming this too? Why does he film the crimes he commits?
Hey, is this like no one's there, but he's like giving the evil eye to someone? Like, I dare you to show this to someone.
He comes off as like a self-absorbed TikToker who just like super narcissistic, who can't, turn away from his own face. He loves to watch everything that he does. And he might not be alone. It might be his dead brother's daughter behind the camera for all we know. I don't know. He likes to put her in compromising situations.
Well, allegedly. I've never smoked crack, but is that typically how long it takes to get a hit, or did he just go on a hero's journey with that crack?
I couldn't tell you. I've never smoked crack either, but he did take a pretty long hit for that. It was longer than I've ever seen anybody take a hit of weed. It was a good 10 seconds or so. And is he hitting a vape right now, or is he drinking? He appears to be hitting a vape or something else as well. This is in 2019, by the way, that this happened.
Okay.
What is that weird image in the background? It's like
it looks like him swimming or something.
I hope that he edits these things together. I just imagine Hunter Biden has this beautiful editing bay, very expensive, where he sits around making these edits of all his videos into some super Hunter Biden movie. Now he appears to be He keeps looking directly into the camera. It's so weird.
Ain't no laws when you're drinking claws.
I wonder if he's got a screen where he can see himself. Okay, so somebody just coughed in the tank, and that was not him that coughed. Somebody else must be in that tank with him. Did you hear that?
I did.
Take that back a second. That was not him coughing, unless there's a delay here. And he looked over when it happened. He's got somebody in that, his poor assistant or some Secret Service agent is in that tank. All right, so now we have moved to the close-up. Hunter has just said to the Secret Service agent, who is unfortunately tasked with doing everything Hunter Biden does, he said, let me get a little closer to the video, and he is now sitting directly in front of his camera with a weird expression on his face and his legs propped up in the air, naked. Let's see what happens next. Still holding his tall boy. And I'm not talking about the one between his legs. Don't know that that's a tall boy. What a weirdo, man.
You could see into his soul if he had one.
He's trying to get the framing right. So he's looking at that camera, trying to frame it to his liking. It's not him staring wild-eyed into it like the article describes it. It's him trying to get a framing that he thinks makes him look best. This is beyond narcissistic and weird. Hunter Biden should not be able to buy a gun if we're going to be using these red flag laws that they like to apply, because this is all the red flag you need with Hunter Biden. I'll link that in the show notes. That's one of the craziest, strangest things I've ever seen.
It really was. And that's why I said the family is embarrassing as well. Did you see Joe Biden's Ron Burgundy moment?
I saw it briefly when we watched it a moment ago. I wasn't able to pull the clip to cut it, so I would like to show it, but I don't know how to show it without having.
I could do that if you'd like me to.
Yeah, if you, I'll tell you the rest of this Hunter Biden thing, and you get that clip ready, and we'll show that, because there is a little bit more to this story. So that video was filmed on January 30th, 2019. In Newburyport, Massachusetts, at a place called Blue Water Wells, apparently a crack-friendly wellness center. They'd rather you come with your crack than not come at all over there, I'm presuming.
Oh, he's going to do crack and other word I don't want to say on the free feed.
You know, I shouldn't, shame this company for that, because they probably didn't know. Maybe they did know, but what are they going to do? What are they going to say? Hunter, we can't tell him he can't bring his crack. Then he won't come and we won't have this high profile person here. So maybe they didn't know. And so a month prior to this, Hunter was texting with Joe saying that he didn't have enough money for his treatment program or for his bills or for his alimony. Here is the text exchange. Hunter sends his dad, "Hey, Dad, I've been trying to resolve some immediate financial issues, alimony, tuitions, and bill for this program, but the cash I'm counting on will not arrive until the end of the week." Now, that right there is something that somebody who's got some illegal issues going on says, look, the money that I'm counting on, it's not going to get here until later this week, man. Right. That's some shady language right there. And then he says, "Is it possible to make another short-term loan in the same amount, and I will send it back to you no later than 10 days? I'm really embarrassed to ask, and I know it's unfair of me to put you in that position right now." And so he wrote that in December. And then Joe says, "Hunt, tell me what you need. No problem. The future," that's what the future president at the time, how he responded. He said, "Okay, how do you want to do this? I can pay tuition directly in their housing and give you the rest." And then he said, 75 being wired today, love. And that's the extent of the exchange. And then a voicemail was discovered on Hunter's laptop that showed President Biden calling Hunter on December 12th, 2018, saying that he needed to discuss a New York Times report linking Hunter to Chinese oil giant CEFC. Now, the Times story pointed out that the CEFC chairman had been arrested in China, and his top lieutenant, Patrick Ho, had been convicted in the U.S. for bribing African officials to help Iran evade oil sanctions. And I think in the message, I believe Joe assured Hunter that he is in the clear and okay. So what this does is, this little exchange, is it does a number of things. It shows that the guy we trust to lead the country, America, some people anyway, sends obscene amounts of money to his son whenever he asks, his son, who uses drugs and hookers. He knows he uses it on drug and hookers, but he sends it to him anyway. There's actually another story about all the money that Joe sends to Hunter, where a Secret Service agent or somebody communicating with Hunter says, "Hey, Hunter, you're past your weekly allowance of $7,500. You've exceeded it. $7,500 weekly allowance? Are you kidding me? That's what, $30,000 a month? I'd take it too. That's $360,000 a year in weekly allowance that he is exceeding because he's spending it on crack benders, hookers, and sensory deprivation masturbatory trips. This also makes clear what everybody already knows, that Joe, despite what he said, did in fact talk to Hunter about his business dealings. But who cares? It doesn't matter. Look at Trump's kids. They're so bad. The only person Joe casually sends more money to than Hunter is Volodymyr Zelensky, who doesn't need to do any, pulling the wiener himself because he has Ben Stiller and Joe Biden and Sean Penn to come over there and do it for him. But in the wake of this story, which shows that Joe Biden not only lied, but that he also pays for his son to have a threesome with 2 no-shows while he floats around in a sensory deprivation tank smoking crack. Here's $1,000, son. Grab some crack, hop in the tank, and wax the carrot like your daddy showed you how to do it. I want that pearl polished before you get back, son. I want to hear all about the single-player sex that you engaged in when you got home. That's what I imagine that conversation goes like. In the wake of this news, Hunter Biden shows up to the White House 4th of July celebration where he poses for a photo op with his dad on a balcony at the White House while holding a child. They always give Hunter Biden a child to hold when he does a photo op at the White House. A video just came out of him in a tank, smoking crack, drinking a tall boy, tickling his pickle, giving himself a nice 5-finger handshake, ringing the devil's doorbell. A video he filmed himself, and now he's posing with a child on the balcony with his dad at the White House, the guy who pays for him to play with himself in weird places. They should never allow him to hold a child. And they should be careful with doing photo ops with Hunter Biden at the White House, because when he sees the camera, just instinctually, his clothes go off, he grabs drugs, and he starts flipping his dong around. He can't help it, and you don't want a picture of Joe Biden with his arm around his naked son, while his son in one hand has a child and his other hand has his penis. That's not going to go over well on the White House press corps.
He's spinning around saying, it's Marine Force One.
Right. And everybody's, all right, cut. Everybody cut. Everybody get together. Hunter, look, for 10 minutes, I know the camera comes on, your clothes come off, but we need you to just keep them on for a few minutes, and then you can go, do whatever you need to do with it over there in the corner. It doesn't matter. Your dad will help you. He doesn't care. And it's just really kind of probably the best illustration of the Twilight Zone backwards world that we live in right now. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And I know we're going long today. We're going to continue to go long because I love this story. I absolutely love that we have these Hunter Biden distraction stories, because I think that there is actually a purpose to it. And, I think that purpose could be a couple of things. The media could be ignoring it because they want to use it later to get Joe Biden not to run. But also, there is a specific tactic. It's actually the CIA deception maxim number 10. It's a tactic of releasing information in a controlled way that minimizes the impact of that information to help you bury that information. And that could be what's going on here. Let out all of this criminal activity that Joe Biden is associated with. And of course, Hunter Biden just, whatever he does all the time, smoking crack, literally committing crimes on camera, to bury it. And it could also be them trying to overcome being compromised as well. So if you put all that stuff out there, then the people who hold it over you can no longer compromise you. It's like in Batman Year One, the animated video, if you've ever seen that movie, where Gordon, I think he's younger at the time. The mafia calls him and said, "Hey, we got pictures of you sleeping around and your wife, and you're gonna do what we say." So Gordon calls his wife himself, and he tells her he was sleeping with her so that they can't hold that over him. Perhaps that's going on. Perhaps they're just flaunting it in our face that this unbelievable lifestyle that Hunter Biden lives, funded by Joe Biden, is allowed to go on.
Do you think that Joe Biden is as pro-choice as he is because of Hunter?
He has to be. I mean, how many children
No,
does
no,
Hunter have?
no. I'm saying, does he regret Hunter that much at this point?
Oh, man, maybe. I don't know, dude. He seems to be the world's proudest father. He did say that this guy that we just watched in that video, floating on his back, twerking his thing, is the most intellectually intelligent man that he's ever met.
I don't believe that.
You don't think that's true? You don't think he was
I
philosophizing?
I don't buy it. But his dad is a real smart guy.
Well, I think even worse is if he actually believes that. And I don't know that he actually believes that. But maybe the person behind the camera was Jimmy Kimmel. We know how he loves to pump up Hunter Biden. Maybe there was just an army of left-wing media back there. But I do have a solution for Hunter Biden before we move on. I really could talk about the story for probably hours, honestly. It's just the most ridiculous thing. But my solution, I think Hunter Biden should take my advice on this. He needs to capitalize on this. His whole thing is that he uses his family name to profit, without really having to do anything. And I think he's missing a great opportunity to do that here by just giving away these videos for free. Now, I don't necessarily think that he is responsible for leaking them. I think that he could be responsible for leaking them, or his dad could be. But I think that he can possibly prevent the leaks. God, see, I don't even know what I'm referring to when I say leaks now, talking about the story after witnessing what I just witnessed. But he needs to repurpose all that content, because that his iPhone, the video picture section, is just filled with nothing but videos of him naked committing sex acts, either by himself or with some sort of prostitute while he does drugs. He has endless videos of that he could repurpose into an OnlyFans account. And I think that Hunter Biden needs to start an OnlyFans account, because what that is going to do, he needs to copyright all that material, all this innovative pornography, and then start that account. And then anytime somebody in the media releases that video, if it is in fact somebody who doesn't like him, trying to smear him, then he can say, hey, I make my living off of these videos. I have income derived from them, and they are stealing my premium subscriber-only content and releasing it to the world for free, copyrighted content. I'm going to sue them, and he'll have actionable damages that he could sue them from, and that would force all the journalists who want to see those videos to become loyal Hunter Biden OnlyFans subscribers. Now, none of them will be as big of a fan as his dad, Joe, who will absolutely be his first subscriber, because how proud he is. He'll watch it in the Oval Office. He'll say, come here, look at that. It's daddy taught him how to do that one right there. His dad is responsible for all of this. Joe Biden has got to be the worst father on the history of the planet. I mean, what do you think? Like, if you saw a video of your son doing that, do you self-reflect? Do you say, man, where did I go wrong?
I leave public office. That's for sure.
Right. You don't think somebody who has to deal with that is in a good position to actually run the country?
Of course, I have much higher standards than a lot of people, but I'm just saying, if you can't control your household to that point, you can't control the government.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, I mean,
without a teleprompter.
Hunter Biden's harder to control than the American government, the American people. Maybe he is. He's just so blatant with his elitism and his privileged life. It's comical at this point. He not only was at the White House for 4th of July, he was front row today at the ceremony where Biden was giving away the Presidential Medal of Freedom to people. Maybe Hunter thought he was going to win. Maybe he was up for a nomination. I think they should give a Presidential Medal of Freedom to Hunter, because why not at this point? He can drop trowel, and then he can just start wanking it up there in front of the press corps. That they would love to have the devil. I'm not even going to go further with that. They would love to have that on them as part of their story.
All I'm saying is the person who receives the Medal of Freedom, he should be in the running, because he's freer than any of us. He can't get in trouble for anything that he does.
It does not matter.
So he's far freer than us. But
what he does, it doesn't matter. Did I ever tell you that I accidentally bought a crack pipe one time?
I think you did. Yeah.
I'll tell the story briefly for those who have not heard it, but I did. I accidentally bought a crack pipe, and I know that's like, how do you accidentally buy a crack pipe? Well, there was this one night I was going over to my friend's place, and they partake in marijuana quite a bit. And I was not a big marijuana smoker, and I had smoked it, but I wasn't like somebody who, I didn't know the language. I was just like a casual smoker. Somebody passed it to me, and he asked me if I could get him another marijuana pipe because his was broken. If I could pick one up for him on the way home. And so I go into this, sketchy gas station. I picked the sketchiest gas station because I knew they would have one of those glass cases with all the pipes. But I didn't know what I'm looking at here. I'm like, which one am I supposed to get? I don't know. And I didn't want to say it, So I start like doing the motion where it's like I'm holding something to my mouth, and then I just start kind of moving my hand around like in a circle, like you're lighting it. I'm like, hey, do you have one of these? And whispering, and it took him a minute to figure out what it was. And then he goes, oh, yes, I have one of those. And so he eventually figured out what I was talking about, and he grabs a pipe, puts it up on the counter, and says, this is what you're looking for. And I looked at it, and I said, I mean, it looks a little different than marijuana pipes I've seen before. Like, I've never seen one with a rose inside of it, but, I guess it works. So I bought it, and I get back to my friend's place, and I say, here you go, dude. And he pulls it out, and he looks at it, and he looks at me and goes, dude, this is a crack pipe. And I wasn't sure what was worse, that I bought a crack pipe accidentally, or that the guy at the gas station thought that I was shopping for a crack pipe. So I looked like someone shopping. Oh, this guy definitely, of all the things, that motion I was making where you're trying to like light up a bowl, that guy said, oh, he's definitely smoking a crack pipe in that pantomime that he's doing right there.
And that's
nothing
not even
else.
how you light those.
Right, yeah.
He just saw skinny white boy needs to get his glass on.
And that is exactly what that guy thought. Absolutely. Because I used to audition all the time for characters that were basically crackheads or terrorists or rednecks. So it does fit with the stereotype there. And I don't like to waste money. So I took the crack pipe back to the gas station, and I said, you sold me a crack pipe, dude, but you didn't tell me where to get crack. And that's the end of that story. That's my crack pipe story. Never smoked crack, not Hunter Biden. I won't. The only way you could ever get me to smoke crack if it is with Hunter Biden in a sensory deprivation tank. That's the only way that's going to happen.
It's the only way he'll be able to get you to hold the camera for him.
Totally. Right. It's to be his cinematographer. Wow. That poor person who has that job. Jeez. And his cell phone has got to be disgusting.
Yeah, it has to be. Do you want to play the Biden clip before or in XR or here?
Let's go ahead and play it here. We did tease it. If you got it, did you put it in there? Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, it's in there. It's at the bottom of the screen.
Power.
All right, this is pretty funny.
Power. It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percent.
I have to pause it. Look at Kamala Harris standing behind him. She looks like she's holding her breath the entire time because she's about to explode.
Percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line.
I'm going to take this
cast a ballot. Percentage. It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line.
That's like what you do when you're doing a talk to text. As you say, hey, I'll be there later, period, end of quote. Hunter Biden's doing this on the teleprompter. Repeat sentence.
Next line.
Women are not without electoral and or political.
Watch this. Did you see the guy in the background? I don't know who that guy is over his right shoulder, his left shoulder. Watch him laugh subtly after he does that. Yeah, he catches it. He can't help himself.
Than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not without electoral and or political or maybe precise, not and or political power. That's another way of saying that you, the women of America, can determine the outcome of this issue.
She has active
I don't think the court, or for that matter, the Republicans.
That's a fantastic video. If you send me the link, I'll put that in show notes also. How does he not? Do you think this is on purpose? Because how do you not know that? If he uses teleprompters every day, which he does, how does he make this mistake? Surely this isn't the first time this has happened, unless somebody was messing with a teleprompter and put it in there. Like, I believe you made a meme with Ron Burgundy.
Do you want me to show the meme?
Yeah, put the meme up there and I'll show it.
I'm not gonna lie, I think this is pretty solid work.
It's a good meme. It really is. It's one of my favorite memes of yours.
The other favorite is male Stacey Abrams.
Yeah. Oh, male Stacey Abrams. Yes, which is it's just stating a truth, kind of, because there's nothing not male about Stacey Abrams. I expect that she manhandles Brian Kemp on a regular basis. In a weird love nest.
I did put that down.
Oh, you put it up there?
Wait. No,
why is it showing? You put up your own screen of us on Rockfin.
I'm so daggum dumb. I keep clicking out of tabs.
Yeah, Kamala didn't even notice because Kamala is also always aware that she's on camera, and she also is constantly in her head about how she looks on camera. You can see that in the way that she presents herself, in the way that she holds her breath. Watch her. She's always holding her breath on camera.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the life of her husband, who I don't know if they're really like in love or if their marriage is real, because he is just the perfect stereotype of a beta male to Kamala, and the love they express to each other does not in any way seem genuine. But if he really is under her thumb, guy's got to be miserable. Yeah, Mamala, because she has any real kids of her own. God, Kamala's just, they keep her hidden for there you go. That's great. That's fantastic. And this guy, yeah, it's just he might as well be. It's comical, man. You can't even joke about it because it's already parody. It's already satire. I saw a segment, I can't remember where it was, but they did a segment of, is it real or is it the Babylon Bee, the headline?
Right.
I mean, really, you can't tell at this point.
It's hard.
Cannot tell. Look at this. I'm going to show you this while we got camera up. I tweeted this out earlier if you guys want to check it out. But yesterday, and I'm not going to go into this again, but yesterday I was talking about the Georgia Guidestones being taken down and how, I don't think that the way that happened was a good thing. I think that it was probably part of the globalist plan, the way that it happened. But I saw these articles tweeting or posted about it, and they all had the exact same headline. I mean, you see this frequently, but quite often not to this extent. Here's one example of it here. Let me get this in here. Yeah, the headline was something like, they all included satanic in it because they want to demonize people who are against the Guidestones, who oppose the messages of the Guidestones.
Those things are so creepy.
They're gone now.
I
wonder if they're going to rebuild them, man. See, in the book, there's a book that's associated with it. I read some of the passages on yesterday's show, but it says that you need to rebuild these if the ignorant tear them down.
Really?
And I found that to be very interesting because if they rebuild them, then that shows, well, we're going to follow these orders here.
Are they going to unearth the time capsule?
That was the question I had, was what about the time capsule? They had these excavators there, and they were digging up the ground. Did anybody find the time capsule?
Yeah.
And what I want to do, what I called for people to do if they want to, is there's a tip line for the GBI to call in any tips if you have any idea who is behind it, because, they don't have video of the entire thing. But I want to call in the tip line and get a bunch of people to do it and say, hey, I have a tip. There's a time capsule 6 feet underneath. Look at the website here and look at the description on the tablets. Could you please get that time capsule? Maybe that'll help your investigation. But of course, they would never tell us what's in the time capsule if they did do it.
Someone just needs to go in there in the middle of the night and dig it up.
Right. And then they'll be charged with the one who did it there. All right, you see that? Can you see those headlines at all there?
Yeah.
Get that out of here. Make this bigger. All right. So these say, all of these headlines, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then there's another, there's like 7 more of the exact same one when you do the search. Georgia slabs called satanic by some torn down after bombing. This is from Georgia Public Broadcasting, it's from Washington Post, it's from Snopes, it's from My Northwest, it's from ABC. Who gets credit for that headline? if you're the writer that came up with that headline, do you get royalties for all of this? Just everybody using your they just regurgitate the same stuff. I don't like these people. I don't like them at all. They piss me off. They have problems. Brian
They're not
Stelter
sending
is
their
like
best.
No, they're not at all. They're the worst. And like Brian Stelter probably fantasizes about floating in a tank with Hunter Biden. That's the type of people that these guys are. It's unbelievable.
Who doesn't want? Well, see, and that's the thing. I don't know if you noticed in the Hunter Biden video, he actually had a Mr. Potato Head floating in there with him. So I think he'd be down for Stelter being there as well.
I'm sure that he would. I actually, somebody who listens to the show is working on a video, and they're almost done with it. I think it looks fantastic. They're tweaking some of the final aspects of it, but it is a fantastic January 6th hearing mockery video, and Brian Stelter, potato, as a potato, makes a fantastic appearance in this, and I think you guys are going to love it. I'm hoping we can get it out there over the weekend because it's great. All right, so I've talked enough about that. What are we even talking about next? It's this whole Hunter Biden stuff just has me all worked up. I can't even find my notes here. All right, here we go.
Well, I do know that in the XR you wanted to talk about CIA deception manual leak examples.
That's exactly what I wanted to talk
about. Pluralistic ignorance.
Yeah. All right, so I have my screen. I have like 3 monitors here. And so one of my notes are like barely sticking out from one of the screens, and they're invisible otherwise. All right, so the CIA deception maxim. This is what it is, the one that is related to leaking information. CIA deception maxim number 10, and it's in the document on the CIA webpage, is this. Care in the design of planned placement of deceptive material. Care must be exercised in the design of schemes to leave notational plans. Apparent windfalls are subject to close scrutiny and often disbelief. Genuine leaks often occur under circumstances thought improbable. And then they give 2 examples of how this works when it does not work. And I will go through those in the XR. And before we get to that XR, we're going to talk about in the final story of the day is briefly, we're going to talk about what I think the best career path for anyone who can achieve this would absolutely be, because it would give you ultimate freedom and allow you to live your dreams. I'm going to tell you what I think that is after I tell you what's going to be in the XR along with that CIA deception manual information. We're also going to talk about how to beat the globalists at their own game, pulling from some of their instructional text from Cass Sunstein, Obama's former propaganda guy, a book that he wrote this past year. Really interesting information. We're going to talk about that. And if you want to get access to that exclusive XR material, then you can go to patreon.com/propaganda report and subscribe there. All of the tiers get the exclusive XR material. You can also go to rockfin.com/propaganda report where you will get that. And you will also be able to access this video live interactive chat that we do. Going to get back to doing them once a week as I get everything in order and am able to do shows on a daily basis like I am trying to get back to do right now. And you can also find us on locals at propreport.locals.com if you're interested in a more social media-like interaction experience to get that exclusive content. All right, so the final story of the day. This is from the Washington Post. On Saturday morning at an arena outside Memphis, Terry Owens joined the crowd streaming in to see former President Donald Trump. They lined up according to how much they paid. That's an interesting statement. It was everybody, you know how you do one of these exercises where it's everybody line up according to height, and everybody shouts out their height, or they move it, where people shouting out how much they paid to get in this line. That's what it seems like here. And they say as far at the far end of the white entrance tent, I love how they made sure to say a white entrance tent, as though it's not a white-colored tent. It's a tent where whites are allowed to enter. Nice framing there, Washington Post. Near a bus wrapped with a photo of Trump's head on a muscular, shirtless body were attendees who paid $55 for a pair of tickets as citizens, quote, citizens, a general admittance option. At the front, closest to the doors, guarded by Secret Service agents, stood a, quote, presidential tier where people shelled out $3,995 each to enter there. So this whole article from the Washington Post, and there's other articles too, that talk about this. And it goes on to paint Trump, who is profiting off of being president, as doing something wrong, while justifying how other presidents who also profit off of speeches and rallies are okay doing it. And here's an example in the article. It says, former presidents, including Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama, have often taken paid speaking gigs after leaving office and have been criticized for cashing in on their service. But those fees were generally paid by businesses, not individual fans who may not understand where the money is going. Clinton and Michelle Obama have charged for book talks with no ambiguity about the use of the proceeds. Really, what about their nonprofits and the ones that were linked to Jeffrey Epstein? And what was that country where they just...
Haiti.
Yes, exactly. What about all that money? And then it says, paid presidential speeches are nothing new. It's nice work if you can get it. Second Act. This is the guy who wrote the book Second Acts, Presidential Lives and Legacies After the White House. And then he said the difference here is that Trump is doing it under the guise of a political rally. There might be a little deception there. Maybe, but I have a feeling that people who are shelling out $4,000 to see Trump at a rally are perfectly fine with Trump profiting from what is a tour, what is an entertainment rally tour. They even have other guests build on it, just like you would at a show, like a stand-up show or any type of, like Sean Hannity used to do these, what is that, freedom thing? I went to it once. My parents got me and my siblings, which was funny, tickets to this Sean Hannity event where he gets Charlie Daniels out there and he goes and spouts a bunch of Republican talking points. Because not everybody in my family is Republican, but they just wanted us to get together and go do something together. And at the event, they asked for all the gold. Everybody stood up and started clapping, and we saw people standing up and clapping, so we stood up and clapped. And we didn't realize they had asked for Gold Star families to show up, which we were not a Gold Star family, which means you lost somebody at war. And the guy sitting behind us at this Hannity event saw that we were standing up and saw that my brother, my oldest brother, was wearing camouflage pants. So he put two and two together, assumed that we had lost somebody in one of the wars, and he said, I'd be honored to buy your family a beer, and wanted to buy us all a beer. His wife came over and said, he really wants to do this, please. And so after we realized it, we said to her, ma'am, we didn't realize what we were standing up for. We're not a Gold Star family. And she goes, just pretend that you are. This would make him so happy. And we were like, all right. She wouldn't let us tell him, so he ended up buying us a bunch of beers. My point in that story is that they have these events that people pay for that they obviously profit from, and there's nobody going to that event that doesn't know that Trump is profiting from it. They have Candace Owens and other personalities going there. This is a nonsense story to try and make it look like Trump is doing deceptive things, which that has been one of the themes at the January 6th hearings. And after I get your thoughts, I'm going to tell you the perfect career path that this sparked in my mind. Look at you rubbing your face. I can't hear you.
I was just going to say that even if it's going to go to his campaign either way, right? He's going to be paying money into his own next campaign, right? These people want him to have their money.
Right. Yeah, they are happy to give Trump their money.
They want him to be rich.
The people who are supporting him are probably more likely to be capitalist and are probably encouraging of entrepreneurs and encouraging of, yeah, I will pay for something that I appreciate. It probably makes them feel good that they're profiting. Not only him, the people who are on the bill speaking, Candace Owens and other public speakers who might not be as prominent, getting an opportunity to make money doing what they're trying to do. And people like to support those who do things like that they share beliefs in. So trying to frame this as something bad or wrong, it's just not. If you don't realize, if you're anybody who's like, wait a minute, I thought this was specifically going to this campaign thing, even though there's no, I can't remember what he names it, but he always names things like in like the Take Back America tour. And then the media will say, well, he said it was a Take Back America tour. So therefore he was promising them this money going to campaign activities. No, that's just a flashy branding name to get attention and to get a bunch of people in the crowd. And my thought on this was, is this not what the best part of being president is right. After you're president, for the rest of your life, you can cash in, get obscene amounts of money for giving the worst speech ever. It doesn't matter. After you're president, you could give a speech that you gave in the first grade about how much you love your dog over and over again around the country, and you will get paid obscene amounts of money for doing it. You could hold your speech in front of your face and be hammered and slur your way through it, and people would still invite you back to do it because you were once a president. So the perfect career path, because actually being president would not be I think that's a terrible job to ever want to have. But if you could swing it, you become president at age 35, you serve one term, you're done by age 39, you're retired, you spend the rest of your life cashing in. Anytime you need some cash, you go give your dog speech from first grade, drunkenly go through it, cash in, and then you go party. You're still relatively young. That is living the dream. That is what true freedom is right there. A one-term president, age 35, retired at 39, exploiting the benefits of the obscene amounts of money these people make for talking for like 20 minutes.
Right.
Would you do that?
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
I would love if somebody actually did that. You just got to pretend for 4 years that you actually care about all that nonsense. You want to do good while you're there. Yeah, just on camera. Well, when camera's off, totally.
If you don't think I would take the money that I would be making from this and hire someone to do all of the work so I don't have to do it, you're crazy.
Right. Yeah, you tell people that sometimes. They'll be like, "Oh, so what's the podcast like? Is it like the one with CNN or that we hear on Fox?" Or I'm like, no, they have a massive production budget, and they have like dozens of team members supporting them in their activity of just repeating the same message over and over again, which is what they do.
Yeah, and it's like with my show, people will ask me, "Hey, who did your music? Who did your intro? Who did all your video work?" And I'm like,
I did.
Do you think I'm rich? No, I just do this stuff.
No, anybody, I think we all had a learning curve during the pandemic when it comes to the use of this type of technology and making it work best. And some technology companies like StreamYard actually popped up and were able to capitalize and provide good services for people. I tell you what, anytime a new service or a new piece of equipment comes out that's actually good and useful, it's so like, I'm like, thank goodness, finally somebody can make this one aspect of this easier, because it's, we're not sound engineers. So on movie sets, they have a sound engineer, somebody who constructs all of the audio of the movie, because you could have the most beautiful picture ever, greatest acting ever, but if the sound is bad, the movie sucks. It kills the entire movie. Sound guy, one of the most important people on set. And I remember watching these guys on set, and they're so good at what they do. Like they know, you pick up a plane flying off in the distance because the equipment's so good, and they know to stop you. They know the placement of the mics. They know how to make everything sound great in post. It's a skill set that once you start doing podcasting and trying to do some of that stuff on your own in this realm, you really go, man, I wish I had a movie set sound engineer as my producer. And those guys on CNN, they do have that. Whereas us fighting for the truth, Cam, we don't have that. Man, having somebody to bounce ideas off of and talk about has really set me off. And I've just rambled to no ends today. So thank you for joining me. Doing the show solo sometimes, while sometimes I'm really excited about, I'm always excited about what I'm talking about. It can be, you want feedback, and you want to see reaction, and you feel like you're just talking into a tunnel sometimes. So I think I kind of went wild today having you back, Cam.
Well, that's the thing. Like I remember when you were going to be doing it by yourself, I'm like, I'll be there for you if you need it, because I've done solo shows.
I want you to be there for me for sure.
I can spin a dang yarn, but it's like the beauty of my show with Jessica and how it worked with you and Monica was there were these converging opinions, and I think that was my favorite part of working with both you and Monica at different points. Was I would say something that you hadn't thought of or she hadn't thought of, and it would just spark something new. And it's just you love to see it.
And having somebody to be able to reflect on the information that you're providing and give that different insight is very helpful. Like you said, it helps you see it in new ways, because I'll find myself doing a solo show, and my thought will be, oh man, I want to know what, like, instantly. I love getting feedback afterwards. And so we get the comments, and the comments are fantastic. That type of stuff, if it's not live, like I want to find a way eventually, once I get a lot of the stuff smoothed out, where I'm doing the show live on a regular basis, because that instant feedback, which I've been neglecting today on the comment section, is so helpful. And that feedback from you and that feedback in the chats, like I love it, man. It really, like, it helps you understand if you're being clear when you're going off the rails, which I certainly have gone off the rails today. But it's so helpful and so beneficial, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody who joined us today. And I think that's going to end the really, really long DNB free version. We are going to go do an XR version because we're going all the way today. This is only the second show that I've done this week, so we're really gonna milk it, as Joe Biden might say, or as I learned today on Twitter, that men can milk their own boobs. And they, just like in, what's the movie with the Fockers and Greg, Meet the Parents?
Meet the Parents.
Can you? I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me? Apparently, you can.
Wait, men or men?
I didn't read the whole article, but the picture they showed in the article was definitely someone who was born as a male, or it was the most chiseled, ripped female that I've ever seen in my life.
Science has gone crazy.
It looked like you're going into, you remember Gold's Gym, where all the guys wore the thin tank tops and they were just jacked up. It looks like somebody was in there and having guys just milk themselves, is kind of what this image looked like. Maybe I can find that later. Anyway, that's the show. Thank you guys for listening, and that was fun, Cam. Again, it was a little off. I like going off the rails sometimes. It gives a level of freedom that Hunter Biden never can experience. We'll talk to you guys next time. You can find your Drive Time News Blast most weekday afternoons at thepropreport.com or your favorite podcasting platform. Again, patreon.com/propaganda report if you want that XR content, or Rockfin or locals. We will talk to you all next time. Oh, and I can play the outro music.
You can.
Right now. Let's see. Let me do this right here. All right, Cam, we'll see you in a second in the XR. Have a fantastic rest of your day.